Thank you so much, and we are really sorry to keep you waiting. I now have the honor and the pleasure to introduce you to the President of the General Assembly, His Excellency, Mr. Abdulla Shahid. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, all. First of all, let me say how sorry I am that you have been waiting for over half an hour. When the new presidency of hope was reined in, it took a little bit of time to get through some of these procedures. I apologize once again. A very warm greetings to the United Nations correspondents. I look forward to working with you many times throughout the coming year. Allow me to say up front that the United Nations has been home since the 1980s. Yes, and that does not in any way reflect my age, ladies and gentlemen. While member states negotiate resolutions, the essence of what we do at the United Nations is only conveyed to the rest of the world through you. I have always admired the work you do to help the world understand what the United Nations, and more specifically the General Assembly, does to improve people's lives around the world. In today's age and time, what is left untold has never happened. I want our work at the General Assembly to be told, and you are my partners in this endeavor. A free press is a fundamental pillar of transparency and of democracy. Sometimes you need someone to ask the questions, even the uncomfortable ones, if you are going to be open and honest about what is happening. Please never shy away from asking the tough questions. I might decide not to answer some of these questions, but that may primarily be because I really do not have those answers as the President. But I want you to keep me and the rest of the members of this House on our toes. And I intend to support your work in this regard. In addition to regular briefings, I hope to host a luncheon or morning dialogue, and if you are good enough, a dinner for members of the UN Press Corps. Likewise, I'm hopeful that I will be invited to press events and interviews and have the opportunity to engage with young aspiring journalists who are eager to make their mark. Empowering youth is an important part of my presidency, and I hope you will work with me to help make that happen. Dear friends, by now you have heard extensively about my Presidency of Hope. For those of you who have not, the summary is this. We have a global population who have lived in anxiety, depression, and desperation for 18 months. We can no longer afford to be the voice of doom and gloom. For every problem, there must be a solution, and the United Nations can and must be at the forefront of spelling out those solutions. Let people come to us for hope, for inspiration, for peace of mind. When I propose my 5 rays of hope, I do so very aware that we need to hope to deliver on these areas and get the world back on its feet. The first ray is about COVID-19 and the need for vaccine equity. We cannot accept that only 3% of Africa has yet been immunized. We can and we will do better. I intend to call a high-level thematic debate on vaccine equity with leading experts and world leaders for early 2022 as we seek to put those jabs in every arm that needs them. We will not be safe until all of us are safe. My second ray is on recovery. As we rebuild, we must do so sustainably. Our decade of action must also be a decade of recovery. My third ray of hope is on responding to the needs of the planet. This is a year of conferences on the planet. COP26, Biodiversity Convention, Energy Dialogue, and next year, the Least Developed Countries Conference in Doha and the Oceans Conference in Portugal. My proposal is to coordinate and pool efforts from all these events so we can find common solutions and act upon them. I call the 76th session a super session for nature. My fourth ray of hope is on human rights and the ever-critical need to never leave anyone behind. All people must be empowered, all must be lifted, must be protected, must be given the opportunities to grow and thrive in safety and prosperity. We must address discrimination in all its forms and be the UN for all people. Dear friends, my Presidency of Hope is also about respecting the rights of all and revitalizing the United Nations. We need an organization that is fit for purpose and tuned up with the times that we are living in. These 5 rays of hope are here to drive us not to give up, even when the odds seem high. Finally, let me say something. In the 76 years of the General Assembly, there have been only 4 female presidents. This needs to change. We need more women in positions of leadership here in the United Nations and across the globe. As a foreign minister, I ensured that half of our ambassadors are women, and you have an example right here in the UN of Ambassador Tilmisa. There she is. I'm a gender champion and have made sure that my team is gender balanced. I've also taken a pledge that I will not sit in any panel that is not gender balanced and would encourage others to do so. It is time for us to be more assertive about making the world 50-50, and count me in. Thank you for your attention. I will now take your questions.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on the start of your mandate, Mr. President, and I wish you the best of luck on the year ahead. So my question is on the upcoming high-level week. What are your expectations? What do you think can be the most important achievements, and on the other end, the most complicated challenges? Thank you so much.
For the high-level week, I think already the membership has clearly shown that they want to come back into the United Nations headquarters. We have an overwhelming majority of countries being represented at the highest level, at the heads of state, heads of government level. The message is clear. The message is that we want the United Nations to start functioning. We want the General Assembly to start functioning. And we will give that voice at the highest level. So the voice of, that the membership is giving from the UN podium is what the constituents wants to hear, and I think that message is very clear. The difficult thing would be to manage during a pandemic, but I'm sure that with the strict protocols in place and with vaccination going around, we will be able to manage. I have every confidence about it. Thank you.
And good luck for the 76th session.
Thank you.
I'm Yoshita Singh with Press Trust of India. My question is on Security Council reform. Now, countries like India and the G4 have been at the forefront of efforts for Security Council reform, saying that the Council must be reformed and expanded to reflect contemporary realities and stay credible. Under your Presidency of Hope, can we hope for some substantial outcomes on the ground in terms of Security Council reform? Thank you.
I wish I had the magic wand to cast and change the Security Council, complete the Security Council reform. As a matter of fact, in 1979, when I was just 17, Maldives joined a group of 10 countries to propose the inclusion of an agenda item on Security Council. And I'm very proud that the Maldives was among the first 10 countries who initiated this. However, as President, I do not have that magic wand, but I hope that the members would take this process seriously. I'm going to appoint the co-facilitators early on before the Security Council debate so that the co-facilitators and the membership would have more time to work on, and I wish them all the best.
Mr. President, thank you. Congratulations again. Is there any power available to the President of the General Assembly that has not been used before, or not adequately used, and that you would like to use?
I feel like a grade 10 student walking into the exam. I hope that I will not be forced to make or use any of the powers that have not yet been used in the last 75 years. There have been difficult challenges, but of course I will go through with my legal team, and rest assured that if there needs to be the use of any powers that needs to be utilized for the General Assembly to function, I will use.
Thank you, President Shahid. At the outset, best wishes for a successful session, the UNGA 76. With regard to Afghanistan, I'm particularly happy that you mentioned that you are going to be a gender champion, 50-50. What about the women in Afghanistan? Taliban made an ambiguous statement that you're going to be respecting all international treaties in line with the Sharia. We know 101 in Sharia, women are considered and treated as 50% of a man in a court of law. You cannot, if a woman would go to testify, you need 2 women to replace 1. In terms of economic empowerment, she's only entitled to 1/8 of her husband's estate if he pass away. As a daughter, and if they have uncles and they don't have male brothers, they are about to lose. I'm sorry? They are about to lose their inheritance in favor of a male guardian. How do you see, with your personal statement, that the GA have a role in this? What are the GA can do? Is there any intention to appoint special representative for Afghanistan? Is there any plans to set a meeting or a high level on the variance between the Sharia and the current international treaty and the system that we live in? Thank you for your elaboration.
Thank you. The General Assembly has an agenda item on Afghanistan, and I hope that during the debate, members of the General Assembly will raise these questions, and you can rest assured that I will champion gender parity and matters related to gender, and will do everything in my power as the President of the General Assembly to address concerns of women, not only in Afghanistan, but throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. You appointed a credentials committee today. There are 2 credentials issues possibly pending, one involving Afghanistan, the other involving Myanmar. When do you expect the credentials committee to meet? And do you expect challenges to either of those 2 countries before next week's high-level week? And if I could indulge you on one other small question, large question. Both you and the Secretary General spoke about the very serious divisions among member states. How do you actually propose to try to heal those divisions?
On the credentials committee, yes, I constituted the credentials committee according to the Charter of the United Nations and the standing orders. They will meet soon. Of course, the purpose of a committee is to try and resolve any issues that may come up, and I will not prejudge the work that the committee will do. That will not be in line with the ethics of the president. On the unity, we both, the president, the Secretary General, and I spoke about unity. It is clear that if one thing that the pandemic has taught us is that no one is safe until everyone is safe. The message is very clear. We can sort these things out only through a united effort. I think the pandemic has taught us this well, and I hope that the membership will take this into account in dealing with these crises that we are going through. I will do everything possible to bring countries closer to the table, to the negotiating table, to impress upon them that the rest of the world, the 7 billion people, are counting on us.
When you say soon, do you mean this week before the high-level debate and the general debate begins next week, or do you mean after?
I promise to you that I will try to answer all the questions. Some I will not be. This specific detail, I will have to come back to you later.
Thank you. My name is Ibtisam Azim from the Daily Arabic Al Arabi Al Jadid. I have two follow-ups actually. The first one on the issue of human rights that you talked about. We hear a lot of talks about human rights, but very often it is left then to the Human Rights Council. Do you believe that the resolutions that the GA adopting and renew should have more of this element, of the human rights element? And the second question on the COVID issue, you talked about the necessity that countries get together and support each other, etc. But as a matter of fact, we have COVAX that is not functioning as it should be. Is there practical or more practical steps that you think that you will take or the General Assembly should take to implement that? Thank you.
On the human rights matters, the Human Rights Council was constituted in Geneva to make sure that human rights is accorded enough importance in the international community. Human Rights High Commissioner is appointed through the General Assembly to make sure that importance is given to this issue. However, I believe that the General Assembly has a function, a very specific function in addressing human rights issues, and that these are addressed through the third committee. And when I met the third committee chair, he's working on making sure that this time we not only during the work of the committee, they will also invite the civil society to come in, which would also give an opportunity to highlight some of the issues. And on the vaccination front, during my remarks after I resumed the 76th session, you would have heard that I spoke about a high-level thematic debate that I would convene. I'm hoping that I will be able to bring to the Assembly not only countries, but also vaccine producers, the scientific community and the civil society and everyone involved, so that we would leave the General Assembly after this thematic debate with a clear guideline, with a clear chart, a pathway to get everyone vaccinated by 2020, by the end of 2022. That is what I'm hoping for.
My name is Talal Al-Haj from Al Arabiya News Network. My question is really, I visited your country in 2010 doing a documentary about climate change affecting small island states, and one of them was your beautiful country. And I've even witnessed a picture where they took, the whole government was under the water, if you remember it. But my question is, with the return of the United States to the climate change agreement, are we on track to mitigate the effects of climate change, especially in small island states?
Mr. Talal, I'm very happy that you are one person who actually knows how vulnerable we are in the small island states. You would have seen that the highest point in the Maldives is 2.5 meters above sea level. That is the highest point. Just a little bit higher than my height. That is the highest mountain in Maldives. And you know how vulnerable we are. And you would know how passionate Maldivians and all the other small island states regard this, because it is an existential issue for us. Yes, the small island states are very encouraged by the United States returning to the Paris Agreement and the role that they are playing. Are we comfortable with what the outcome of COP26 may be? I don't think so. I don't think that we are on the right track yet. The 1.5 degrees has to be, it's a must for the small island states. We would like to stay alive, yes. And we need to reach that 100 billion target. We need to get the Paris handbook finished. We need to give that message that, yes, the leaders care for the 7 billion people. That message of hope, I hope, will come from Glasgow. And for that, I'm trying to convene in October, before the Glasgow summit, a conference here, a thematic debate here at the General Assembly, so that I would be able to, as President of the General Assembly, give opportunity for countries to come together and give that final push, political push for Glasgow summit.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's Pamela Falk from CBS News. Good luck on the presidency. My question is, the president, as president, you have made a priority of COVID vaccine equity. Do you expect to call on world leaders, since more are here than anyone anticipated, to contribute or to make any kind of milestone in terms of contributing or meeting some of the needs that the World Health Organization has called for? Thank you.
I'm going to do, thank you, Pamela. I'm going to do everything possible, everything that the President of the General Assembly is empowered to do, everything to make sure that we are able to reach the target that we are setting to get every single person to be vaccinated by the end of 2022. I believe that the world has that capacity. I believe that we can do it. And I call upon leaders of all countries to come together and get this done. And hear the bell ringing that no one is safe until everyone is safe. We can't deceive ourselves.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your intervention. My name is Alan Bulkati from Maria Novosti News Agency. During your speech, you mentioned, I have a little follow-up, first of all. During your speech, you mentioned the high-level debate on climate security. So could you be please more precise in terms of dates in October? When are you going to convene it? And the second question, please, do you foresee that during GA High Level Week there will be any event on Afghanistan situation?
Well, on the first question, the dates, I will be announcing the dates very soon. And as soon as I'm able to get the timetable out, we'll share. And on Afghanistan, as of yet, there are no special events organized on Afghanistan.
Thank you. Ray Boucher from Sky News Arabiya. I have a question. Weeks ago, the United States, which is the country host of the United Nations, they circulated a letter to member states asking them to stay in their countries and just send a video. Do you agree with them to avoid any blackout for the virus? Or you agree with the more than 84 head of states who are coming next week? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, the United States as host country advised member states to take precautions as much as possible. Of course, it's up to individual members to decide on how they would participate. I'm very happy that a large number of countries decided to participate at the highest level. We need them to be talking and sending the message of hope at the highest level.
Michelle, Reuters, and 2 more questions.
Thank you, PGA. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. Just to follow up on all the questions on vaccine inequity, as you pointed out, next week there's some heads of state and government are coming, some are not. How do you think we're seeing this vaccine inequity play out? How many of these delegations have expressed to you that they're coming here unvaccinated because they've had no access to it in their own country?
Thank you, Michelle. I have no answer to that question. That has not been shared with me, how many are coming without vaccine. But the host country has informed me that they will have facilities to vaccinate all who are attending the General Assembly. If they so desire, it will be facilitated.
Carlos, go ahead.
Thank you, Carlos Day, Global Research. And I wish you all the best this coming year, maybe very eventful. The Secretary General had said we are approaching code red for humanity, and if we do not meet the climate emergency by 2040, which is only 19 years from now, we will be approaching we will have reached the tipping point beyond which, or before which, reversal of what could be disastrous, it will be too late. What can you do as President of the General Assembly to accelerate a global effort to prevent this disaster?
I completely agree with the Secretary General that we have reached code red for humanity. And as I said in my opening remarks, I regard this 76th session as a super session for nature. I will use my convening power as President of the General Assembly, number one, to convene a high-level thematic debate prior to the COP26 summit in Glasgow. I will again convene later in 2022, before the end of my term, high-level thematic debate to bring countries together to take stock on what has happened in the follow-up to all these very high-level meetings on the parties to the Conference of Parties to Biodiversity, to Oceans Conference, and the dialogue on energy. The powers of the General Assembly President is the convening power, and I will use it to bring countries together, take stock.
This is De Zhi from China Central Television, CCTV. Just one quick question, because we know that next week is the UNGA, and do you have any plans to meet privately with all those world leaders so that you can discuss many of these issues we mentioned, just climate change, Afghanistan, and even Myanmar, and other issues like human rights, and as you mentioned, and by the way, we really like your slogan of the hope. That's really what we need now. Thank you.
Thank you. Almost all the visiting heads of states, heads of government have requested to hold bilateral meetings with the individual meetings with me. I just wish I had time and that they would stay a little longer. I have to preside the session as well as hold these meetings. We'll try and manage it as best I can, and I would be so happy to meet all of them so I can share with them the message of hope that I'm carrying, and that we have reached code red. I will be delivering that message.
Thank you. The last one, please. Go ahead.
Mr. Shahid, I'm Salah from Azerbaijan News Agency report. First of all, I want to congratulate you with your new post. My question is, are there any plans to discuss the issue of establishing a dialogue between Azerbaijan and Armenia in the post-conflict period during the 76th session of the UN General Assembly? How can the UN facilitate this dialogue?
The issue of security and peace and security comes under the direct mandate of the Security Council. However, the General Assembly has a role to play, and the membership, and I will continue to be engaged worldwide to make sure that the General Assembly plays the role that it is supposed to play. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes.